Good evening and welcome to ITV News. This is Wednesday night's calendar.
Yes, hello, good evening. Here are tonight's main stories.
The community raises thousands to support a West Yorkshire hospice after thieves break in and trash counselling rooms.
Overgate means so much to everybody in Calderdale, and it just shows the level of disgust and disbelief that everybody's said on the messages, and just £4,000 it's just amazing. It's amazing.
Also tonight, hundreds of schools remain closed and health services issue warnings as the sub-zero weather continues.
Yes, we are now fully in the grip of the big freeze, but how cold is it going to get over the next few days and nights, and how long will it last? I will, of course, have your full forecast a little later on.
A grand day out. The National Science and Media Museum reopens in Bradford following its major refit.
And many of you have had a go at building snowmen this week, but these guys are going one step further with their impressive sculptures. First this evening to the outpouring of support from the local community after a hospice in West Yorkshire was targeted by thieves.
Nurses working the night shift at Overgate Hospice spotted the intruders on CCTV as patients lay sleeping. Thousands of pounds worth of damage was caused and counselling pods used by bereaved relatives were trashed.
But now the community has rallied round to raise funds to help. Sarah Clark reports.
The damage caused by callous thieves who broke in under the cover of darkness. Smashed windows, broken fences and areas used for bereaved relatives are now out of action at the Overgate Hospice in Elland.
Heartbreaking that somebody can break in.
72-year-old patient Maggie was asleep when it happened.
In a hospice, you've got people experiencing a lot of pain, a lot of trauma. They're in a very vulnerable position. And to actually break in and steal property, I just thought it was really disgusting and not a terrible thing to do, really.
Just hours later, Jade Sutcliffe came to spend precious time with her seriously ill grandmother when she was told the news.
I was really shocked to have entered the grounds past where my grandmother and other people like her are being comforted in the last days of life. The buildings that they've obviously broken and the things that they've taken, they're all valuable resources to patients and their families and to staff in helping us through a really difficult time.
The criminals took off with thousands of pounds of equipment, bought with money through fundraising, and it's the kindness of others which again has restored their faith in humanity.
So overnight, £4,000 has been raised for the hospice. How do you feel about that?
It's just amazing. I mean, Overgate means so much to everybody in Calderdale, and it just shows the level of disgust and disbelief that everybody's said on the messages, and just £4,000 it's just amazing. It's amazing.
It's been so upsetting, not only for our patients and relatives, but I think for the whole of Calderdale, because lots of people have used us and lots of people will use us in the future. So, I think it speaks for itself, really, doesn't it, the amount of support we've received.
Police have said a 43-year-old man was arrested on suspicion of burglary and has since been released on bail. They also urge anyone with information to come forward. As for the staff here, they say the shocking events of Sunday won't stop them caring for those who need it most. Sarah Clark, ITV News, Elland.
Compacted snow and icy conditions are continuing to take their toll 3 days after many parts of the region were carpeted at the weekend.
Well, the situation is impacting travel and businesses in what is supposed to be the first full week back for many after the Christmas break. But that festive feeling is long gone. Ben Basin is in the newsroom, and Ben, schools are also taking the brunt, aren't they?
Well, they certainly are, Ian. It's a widespread problem across our entire region as safety issues arise. Our calculation, based on councils who publish school closures, puts the number at more than 300, and around a half of those are in the Bradford district. Now, Ash Green Primary in Halifax has remained open despite the challenges, with more pupils and parents managing to make the journey in as the week has gone on.
Community that school is open, it's safe, it's warm, it's dry. We've a lot of children with vulnerabilities who we'd like to keep an eye on. By the same token, although it's important to stay open, it's very important to say to families that we don't want them to risk their safety.
Well, as we're all aware, plunging temperatures bring a host of challenges wherever you live, but particularly rural counties like North Yorkshire. Its public health team has 3 top tips.
The first is staying warm at home by making sure that you're keeping yourself warm and making sure you're heating the rooms that you spend the most time in. Secondly, making sure that you're staying safe when you're out, staying safe outdoors in this wintry weather. And then my third message would be around making sure that you're looking out for other people as well, particularly older people and those with significant health conditions who are at greater risk of having more significant health issues in this colder weather.
Well, Ben, for many living in low-lying towns and villages, there's no evidence of Sunday's deluge, but the higher you get, the snow and ice is stubborn, isn't it?
Well, yes, that's right. This was the scene earlier today in Huddersfield towards Ainley Top. No thawing whatsoever, and until temperatures rise significantly, it's there to stay. And much higher up, 1,700 feet above sea level, at Britain's highest pub, the Tan Hill Inn in Swaledale, weekend snow and drifts on Monday cut off 23 guests and 6 staff. Well, they made the best of it, and some have now left after a snowplough cleared the path after a 3-hour battle against the elements.
They took it in the stride. They just rolled with it with us, to be honest. We've gone through all the emotions. Like, the customers have been really good. They've been really happy, and we've kept them entertained. Some of the staff have been very exhausted because all the staff that are here have been here since Tuesday. So we're all been a bit tired, but we're all good.
Well, wherever you're hunkering down, the advice, as you've heard, is to stay safe and stay as warm as you can.
Yes, thanks very much indeed there to Ben Basin in our newsroom. Hunkering down, that's a word we don't hear often enough, is it?
No, we're hearing it a lot these days, aren't we? And Kerry's with us. It's the thing everyone's talking about, isn't it? It's still very, very cold.
It is really cold, and we say very cold, but I was struggling to find a temperature above freezing today. Whitby got to the heady heights of +2 Celsius.
Wow.
I'm going to show you this shot. This is Empsey, of course, in North Yorkshire, and this was at 10:30 this morning. Big thank you to Steve. I mean, it was still -4 there, and you can see that the roads are absolutely treacherous, and it's still in the shade. And this is the thing, it depends where you are, whether you're going to get the thaw or not. So yes, we've got the snow-covered mountains, that's going to stay there over the next few days, and basically even where we've got a little tiny bit of sun, the sun's so low at the moment, we're like in the middle of winter, so we get this slow thaw. So the slow thaw is good in terms of flooding. The best chance of getting rid of all of the snow is for it to be very windy and very wet, but it's not. It's bitterly cold for much of the next few days. So I did mention this yesterday. I'll give you a heads up about what we're thinking or what the latest is. So we're under the cold air at the moment, and we've actually got, this is our jet stream high up in the atmosphere that basically feeds us our weather, and it gets more amplified as we head towards the weekend. But you can just see we keep that milder, and I say milder air to the southwest all the way through into Saturday and Sunday. And this is our air mass. It's at 5,000 feet. So if you can imagine all that really thick snow right over the tops like Tan Hill there, it acts as a canopy, if you like, or as a blanket to any warmer air that's coming from the ground. So just above that snow, we're going to stay freezing all the way through into the weekend. So as I've mentioned before, and as we head into the next couple of days, ice is our main risk.
Pavements and roads are just horrific,
yeah, mainly dry, but clear skies and sub-zero temperatures by day and by night. Day after day, you can't really get rid of it. So if people want the warmer conditions, they're going to have to wait until after the weekend. And of course, the forecast is a little later on in the programme.
For now, Kerry, thank you very much indeed.
Of course.
Well, thanks, Kerry. Do stay with us. Still to come on the programme this evening. They could have stayed in the UK with all the snow we've had, but we'll be catching up with the snow sculptors who've travelled to Austria to show off their skills.
Now, after undergoing £6 million worth of renovations, the National Science and Media Museum in Bradford has reopened to visitors today. The 18-month project has seen improvements to the main entrance, a new lift and 2 new galleries. The star of the show, though, is the new custom-made 2-metre-tall replica of the Wrong Trousers from the famous Wallace and Gromit film.
I can't tell you how excited we are today to finally be reopening the museum and welcoming visitors back after 18 months of closure. And we're so excited to be part of Bradford City of Culture. And it was really important that the museum was open at the start of all of that, so we've worked really hard to be here today. And there is so much going to be happening across Bradford throughout the year, and we're really, really proud to play our part in that as well.
Now, have you changed your phone for a newer model recently, or perhaps got a new laptop?
Well, I must admit, I do like to update my phone as often as I can.
Oh, you like to stay on top of things, don't you? You
I
like
do.
to be the latest. But what do you do with your old one? Recycle or throw away?
Well, apparently throwing away our old tech is the very last thing we should do, as James Webster's been finding out.
Whether they're in our pockets or on our desks, the devices we use are constantly changing.
Welcome to Windows 7.
Back in 2009, Windows 7 was the newest operating system.
Don't remember where you saved that picture? Start typing.
But in October, Microsoft will stop providing updates. It's the same for Windows 8.1 and 10. There will be many people who decide to splash out on a new device.
I think it's come as a bit of a shock to consumers that when you buy something, it's something that might almost like go out of date. A laptop, a phone, even smart tech in dishwashers. We are used to when we buy it, it just lasts until it dies. And actually we're saying, no, we have to retire items because they won't work or they'll be insecure.
Encouraging us to buy new technology can be a deliberate business strategy. Manufacturers can make it impossible for older devices to run the latest software. Eventually, they might not run at all. That's absolute obsolescence. Another strategy is making it so expensive to repair a product, replacing it seems better value. For example, if the battery holds less charge, that's relative obsolescence. Both contribute to the 5.3 billion mobile phones that it's estimated are thrown away worldwide in just 1 year. Just 17% of electronic waste is properly recycled. So with more newer, shinier gadgets, do people here in our region still keep older pieces of tech? We've been out asking people in Sheffield.
I've had this, it's like second hand. I don't have it on me, unfortunately, but it's had about 3 users and it's lasted about 9 years.
I'm going to say my iPhone, yeah, I just keep it safe. And in my case, in my screen protector.
I don't buy an awful lot of technology, I must say. I've got my work laptop and a few bits and pieces at home, so they've lasted pretty well.
Well, at the moment this is just a laptop. We've got a handful of laptops that we get handed.
Making old tech last longer is what the volunteers at this repair cafe specialise in.
The main component that gets run down is the hard drive, and it just becomes slow and sluggish. But other components that could be troublesome are possibly batteries, especially if they're older laptops.
There are 600 repair shops like this run by volunteers across the country.
There's lots of reasons why there's not so much repair available on the high street. One of them is that it's really hard to get spare parts. So we're really keen for the policies that incentivise and support people and businesses to repair things and keep them in use for longer and sell them on.
And the government says it's drawing up policies to encourage reuse and repair, promising to end what it calls our throwaway society. But doing that will rely on more of us being willing to turn down newer gadgets and instead have our older items fixed. James Webster, ITV News.
Now the ITV Evening News continues at 6:30. Let's find out what's on the programme. Here's Mary Nightingale.
Coming up on the ITV Evening News, wildfires ripped through Los Angeles with thousands fleeing their homes to escape the toxic smoke and flames. Forecasters predict there will be more hurricane-force winds throughout the night as the flames continue to spread across California. Here, the Prime Minister has faced fresh calls to establish a national inquiry into grooming gangs after a tense clash with the Conservative Party leader Kemi Badenoch in the Commons. And why your morning cup of coffee might be better for you than you think. Would you join me for those stories and more at 6:30?
Thanks very much, Mary. Now, I don't know about you, but I do like a good curry. Here in Yorkshire, we're absolutely spoilt for choice, aren't we, when it comes to finding somewhere to go and have one?
Yeah, I suppose Bradford's probably the obvious place to go, isn't it? But across the country, the popularity of some restaurants has been on the decline. The British Curry Guide says their number has fallen by a third over the last 15 years.
Curry houses are having to compete in a modern dining scene which is more diverse than ever before. Nick Smith takes up the story.
The traditional curry house has been a staple of our high streets for more than half a century. For some generations, maybe their first experience of world cuisine. but many are keen to modernise. At this branch of Akbar's in Bradford, staff say tastes are changing and customers want offerings beyond the tried and tested favourites.
If you say 10, 15 years ago, your chicken tikka masalas, your kormas, your makhanis, so a lot more of the milder dishes, so balti boonas, they would be your more popular dishes. People are going from milder dishes to the more rustic, authentic curries, such as our karai chickens and our Jersey dishes.
Our relationship with Indian cuisine is centuries old. Recipes began to emerge in cookbooks in the 18th century, as the British colonised the subcontinent. The country's first known Indian restaurant opened in 1810, and by the 20th century, thousands of South Asian migrants were establishing eateries in nearly every corner of the nation, even inventing their own Anglo-Indian dishes, like the balti or tikka masala.
Tikka masala from the 80s and 90s that you might come to expect is always going to be a deep red colour. It's funny because chicken tikka masala is now an export of the UK, so there are Indian restaurants in India serving chicken tikka masala as a British Indian dish.
Geoffrey Ali runs the British Curry Guide and says it was those pioneering restaurateurs who expanded the nation's taste buds.
During the 60s and 70s, as people had more disposable income, willing to go out and try different kinds of foods, the demand was filled by Indian restaurants who modelled themselves on these very classical French restaurants, but they would be serving the food at a much more accessible price point. It would become like a cornerstone of every high street. Now we come into this environment where people have a lot more choice.
Romy Gill is a chef and author who insists the image of Indian cuisine is changing as people recognise its diversity and complexity.
And there's a smoky roasted aubergine. This should have a little kick, but not too much. It's so easy to make. I think Indian food scene is so diverse now in UK than it was when I even came. I've come more than 30 years ago. It's changed completely, There was curry houses, but then there was Atul Kochhar and Vineet Bhatia. They were the first Indian chefs to get a Michelin in this country. So I think with times, you have to change. Indian food has stayed relevant because chefs are changing all the time and they're introducing new things. It's not just tikka masala on that thing.
Anglo-Indian cuisine has a long story of colonisation, migration and adaptation, but it seems going back to its roots may be the key in ensuring it remains beloved by the public. Nick Smith, ITV News.
Making me hungry.
I was going to say that you're feeling hungry now. And I know a man actually whose mouth is watering looking at that. Shall we have a bit of sport?
Xero Accounting Software sponsors ITV Regional Sports Report.
Yes, Chris joins us, fresh from the Leeds Rhinos Media Day this afternoon.
Yeah, fresh, the right word, Sally's fresh as those curries on there, but it was freezing today, I've got to say. But we're just over a month to go until the start of the new Super League season. The excitement is hotting up for you rugby league fans out there. Now, it hasn't been a particularly joyful couple of seasons for the Leeds Rhinos, but it's hoped the return of one of their all-time greats will help rekindle past glories.
Front row, if you have open palm on your knees, please.
The sight of Ryan Hall in Leeds Rhinos colours conjures up memories of when the skies were blue and the times were golden. A serial winner alongside other legends of the Rhinos' recent past, Ryan returns after 7 years away.
The first day was a bit weird. Felt like I was trespassing a little bit. But then as soon as I got my spot in my changing room back from, it's the same spot that I used to sit in. I got my same locker. So as soon as I got them, it felt, as normal as it could be.
How does the Ryan Hall that stood here differ from the Ryan Hall that left 7 years ago?
I'd say quite a bit. Like the game evolves every year. It evolves, and you've got to evolve with the game to keep playing really. So I can't tell you exactly how, but I think I'm a different player certainly to when I left.
Well, the fact is the Rhinos haven't won a Super League title since Ryan was last here. In the past 2 seasons, they haven't even finished in the top 6, something that's almost unthinkable for this club. 5 new signings have arrived during the closed season, amongst them Fijian Micah Sivu, who's learning all about January in the Northern Hemisphere, and former Huddersfield giant Jake Connor, who, like the Rhinos, is desperate to rekindle past glories.
It's been good since I walked in, and I think all the new signings have
have been great as well, the other boys, and they've made us feel welcome, and there's a really good feeling going about. And personally for me, I haven't been in part of the place for the last 5 or 6 years, so I'm desperate to get there.
We definitely need to be better than we have been in the past, than last year or previous seasons. But we need to make sure we're playing with a level of consistency where we're competing every week and we're putting ourselves in every single game that we play. We need to be a chance of winning it, and that's got to be the aim for us.
So after a difficult few years, it's hoped the return of one of their all-time greats will help put the Rhinos back in Super League's playoff picture.
I'm sure we'll keep an eye on what happens there. Let's talk about football now and Huddersfield Town. There's just no stopping them at the moment, Chris.
No, Ian, they're unbeaten in 15 matches now, but their latest win last night was probably the best of the bunch. Now, this wasn't a vintage performance by any means, but the goal itself, well, it was a thing of beauty. Herbie came with a great volley to give the Terriers a 1-0 victory at a Wycombe side who would have gone top of League One with a win themselves. And staying with football, ITV will be the place to see the Yorkshire derby between Leeds and Sheffield Wednesday a week on Sunday. It'll be the first time ITV have shown a live Football League fixture since 2002, since you were a boy, Ian. 2002.
You're very kind, you're very kind. ITV is certainly the place to be, there's no doubt about it.
It really is, and what a fixture. The first one back, a Yorkshire derby, Leeds, Sheffield Wednesday.
I should look forward to it.
Yeah, it should be a good one. You should tune in.
Thanks, Chris, we'll do. Good advice.
Can you really look forward to it?
I said so, didn't I?
Oh, you did. Okay. I'm not one to
She
argue.
wouldn't lie.
Well, the upside to all of this snow, of course, is that as fallen parts of a region is the chance to get out and about and build a snowman. But few snow sculptures could rival the work of Justin Scott and Martin Sharp. The pair, one from Driffield and the other from York, are award winners, and they're currently competing in Austria in the hope of scooping another prize.
Yes, that's right. A little earlier, I caught up with them on the slopes to find out more about their unusual hobby and their latest creation.
It's like a theme park kind of a appeal. So we're doing this as a caricature of a frog. The theme for this year for the sculptors is to do something that encapsulates what it's like to be in the mountains over summer. And in this area, there's lots of frogs, so we decided to do a frog on a lily pad.
Sunbathing.
Yeah.
And the lily pad leaf goes up at the back, and we're going to cut a parasol in like a giant window, but in a parasol shape, and then the light's going to come through over the caricature frog of a lily.
You make it sound so simple, but it sounds incredibly complex to me. How did you discover you had a talent for this?
I was at engineering college and I dropped out and went into the art department, and I just turned out with merits and distinctions for the next 5 years. But what I don't have a talent for is screens or computers, and this is where Martin comes in because he's an absolute wizard.
So you're a great pair together, aren't you, for this project? And of course, following your exploits in Austria, you're going on to even bigger and better things later this year. Tell me about that.
So we're off to, we've been invited to the United States of America, to
Ely.
Yeah, in Minnesota, and that's the Ely Snow Festival.
Martin, tell me, what do you get out of it when you see the finished product?
It's a really nice thing to be able to share with a lot of people. And the one thing we try to do with our sculptures is to make them very interactive. So for a lot of people, when they go see sculpture or go see art, it's kind of behind barriers and you're not supposed to touch it. With what we do, we try to invite people into it. So when we've created things, we're trying to create things that people can be part of. So here with Lily the Frog, they'll be able to lay next to Lily the Frog, have photographs taken, etc., be part of that. We kind of enjoy having that interaction, and it's a really nice feeling to be part of a community.
We've had quite a lot of snow here over the last few days, and there's lots of snowmen in evidence, but they are all melting away now. How long do your creations last in those conditions?
Normally up here, this will last a whole season, so probably here till about April. And this week as well has been incredibly mild. The forecast was saying like -14 and -20. And actually, so far, the coldest we've had today has been -4. So,
Do you mean you're a dying breed?
I think we're actually having colder temperatures here than you guys have got over there. I know you've said it's not about the winning, it's about the taking part, but we do wish you the very best of luck. Enjoy yourselves, and we look forward to catching up with you when you're in the States.
Thank you. Yeah, that'd be fantastic.
Cool, blimey, if I'm not feeling cold enough, you go chatting to people in Austria.
Yeah, but colder here than there, as they were saying.
Well, yeah.
Those sculptures are quite impressive, though, aren't they? Do you fancy going and knocking one up?
Well, we could do one, couldn't we? Certainly the weather for it.
Let's get Kerry now.
Today's forecast: seafood and sugar cube towns. TUI sponsors ITV Yorkshire Weather.
Hello again. Yes, the winter woolies are getting a fair wear during the course of this week. Some beautiful sunrise and sunsets, particularly where we have any lying snow. But even where we've got thaw and standing water, we're looking at the real risk of icy stretches with widespread frost staying cold all the way through to the weekend. But tomorrow looks lovely with a lovely dose of sunshine. We've had a little bit of high cloud pushing in from the south today. The more unsettled conditions staying to the south of the UK, but that will retreat southwards as we head through this evening and overnight tonight. So especially as we head into the early hours, the skies become clear and the temperatures once more really tumble. We'll be struggling to get above zero even around evening time, but certainly into the early hours we could be looking at minus double digits where we've got the lying snow. There'll be some mist and murk over high ground and potentially some freezing fog patches. The real risk of icy stretches on anything untreated as we head towards dawn. But Thursday for most of us will be a very cold but beautiful day. 8:21 and 6 minutes past 4 are your sun times for tomorrow. So a widespread frost, the risk of ice, maybe some freezing fog patches tomorrow morning, and then a beautiful dose of sunshine. A very small risk of a little bit of cloud and an odd shower pushing into northeast Derbyshire, but that will be the exception rather than the rule. And we've got a northwesterly, so there will be a bit of a breeze and that will provide a significant wind chill. We are expecting as we head through Thursday night for a widespread frost, a severe frost where we've got the snow cover, and then this system just basically fizzles out and stays to the south and the west. So we're looking at a cold weekend before it's all change into next week.
TUI sponsors ITV Yorkshire Weather.
And I did say it was going to be a really nice sunrises and sunsets this week. And if you saw the stripy one this morning, absolutely gorgeous, especially where there was any snow cover, undulating clouds being uplit there by the rising sun. And last night we did have those showers that formed to longer spells of snow, and you can see the snowstorm forming. This was from Asquith Moor. A big thank you to Jessica. Of course, again lit by the setting sun. It's a mushroom cloud or an anvil cloud starting to develop, which you can see here just off the M1 near Leeds by Janet yesterday. So yes, a snowstorm, and we've got to have some fun, haven't we? So I'm leaving you with Feathers McGraw in Leeds. A big thank you to Karen.
He's a cutie.
Yeah, we like the fun ones too, even though the weather's quite serious.
We do, don't we?
Thank you for watching us. We'll be back again tomorrow at 6. So it's all good night.
Bye-bye.
Take care.